This video is about disclosure and amnesty, okay? And it's about getting out of the cycle of blame and this circular motion, this toxic dynamic that's developed where you did this and you did that, and I'm going to keep you under the thumb by reminding you did that, and you can't come forward because you did this, and all this sort of thing, okay? Matt Brown put forward a really great proposal the other day. Lovely, great, really structured, really thoughtful, really considered, really nuanced, really interesting, and thoughtful. I just, again, I would like to add to that the consciousness aspect. I know that these beings attempt to influence our subconscious, okay, through astral experiences, through trauma bonding with us on the astral plane, through abduction experiences, which take place, I think, more predominantly in that astral dimension, that liminal space. But again, I can't say for sure 100% that people don't have physical experiences, but my experiences is these beings are astral entities, okay? And not only that, but they attempt to hybridize with human beings through that space, okay? Or in that, through consciousness, okay? Hybridization takes place through consciousness, okay? Really, more than anything, okay? It's more a form of possession than it is anything else, okay? As I found through personal experience. What I think we should get out of here is, again, the finger pointing. If we can, you okay, like I said, you can't come forward because you did this and you said that and this, all these different ways in which we try and blackmail people, make them feel like they can't offer something because they are smeared in some way and their reputation is, blah blah blah. There is a way out, okay, of this. I've said before, God has unconditional love for all beings, okay? None are condemned, none are going to hell, nobody's having the book thrown at them. Why is that? That is because of these influences that I've mentioned, okay? Nephilim, the phenomenon. God is aware, all it is aware that it's not our fault, that we are in a co-created reality. We are influencing each other in many ways, that there are mechanisms, functions in consciousness that we cannot, that are not our fault. It's a learning process for us all. We're not here to be condemned. It's a learning curve. It's an experience for us, okay, to be here in this reality, all right? It's an experience, okay? All it is knows that, and has unconditional grace and forgiveness for all beings, okay? I may sound very dictatorial. I'm trying not to sound like that, but this is something I passionately believe in, okay? And when I say people pointing at each other, it's not their fault, okay? We all do it from time to time, okay? And it's just whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, like I said, we need to break that, because if we don't break it, what's going to happen is we're not going to get very far in terms of disclosure, okay? If we say you did this and so you can come forward, and you did that but so you can't come forward, what are we are actually potentially limiting the information that can come forward. If we really want truth, okay, I think that we've got to let all people come forward and give them amnesty and grace and compassion, because there are reasons why people do the things they do that they can't help, and it's all about what's in here, okay, or in their consciousness, okay? What lies have they been told about themselves, and who told them those lies that they did those things in the first place? We are not sealed off units, okay, in that sense, and again, I'm not having, believe me, Matt Brown, I love Matt Brown. I have so much gratitude for Matt Brown and what he did with his podcast episode. Honestly, such an incredible guy, but and it's not about people being stupid and not aware. It's more about just not having an awareness of these issues. No, believe me, nobody wants to be where I've been and where others have been. Nobody, okay? This isn't a position of privilege, okay, so to speak, that I'm in. This is a position of, I don't want to see this happen to anyone ever again, okay? This is what, and I see how this network works. So what they do is they think they have something on you, and they try and make you feel bad about it all the time, okay? They try and blackmail you, they try and smear you, they try and keep you emotionally reactive all the time, okay? They try and trigger you, make you feel like try and again, I can see how they do this. They try and do this to me, okay? They do this to other people, all right? They do this, and I say they're not to, again, it's nobody's fault, okay? It's nobody's fault, okay? It's nobody's fault that they do this, all right? I'm just saying that this is a dynamic I've observed in this network that I believe is happening to other people potentially, just in a maybe not so directly, so to speak, but in an intuitive way, in a sense it's just happening, okay? In a sense that people feel hemmed in by what they've done or what other people have done, and they feel hemmed in because they're targeted, and psychological blackmail is used, and DEWs are used to target people. Again, there's a threat of retaliation. People have lost their lives because of what they've been through, and what they know, what they've attempted to bring forward. Again, there are many reasons why people end up this toxic dynamic exists. But what can we do to sort of break that toxic dynamic, to encourage people to come forward, humanizing things, looking at the consciousness side of things, looking at how God perceives us all as eternal children with unconditional love, seeing that everybody has a story and it's worth listening to, and there are reasons why things happen that, again, we can have tremendous compassion for. I believe that having universal amnesty is not weakness. It's in fact, it's the opposite. Universal amnesty is strength. It's not weakness. To radically forgive people and show them compassion and to understand their situation is not weakness. It's strength. It's strength. Okay, so I think we can reframe that. And again, I'm not having a go at Matt Brown at all, because I think he's amazing. It's not about him. This is not a personal attack. Please don't think that. I love Matt Brown tremendously. I think he's amazing. But and I think he's really great at coming up with like frameworks and new ideas and innovative things, to move things forward. This is just an aspect of his experience that I've had that I would like to put forward as something that could really help humanity, because I believe it can. I really, really believe it. I believe that, like, looking at the influence of the phenomenon, looking at the influence of Nephilim and the Watchers on humanity, okay, and believe me, they are there, okay? I've had enough experience with these beings to know that they are there, okay, and how they influence us. I think we should be looking at this very carefully, and and including that and factoring that into an amnesty policy proposal, okay? Again, all this, we're gonna keep you under the thumb and make you feel like, remind you of you did this and she did that and he did that, again, that's not gonna, the time has come and gone for that. We face tremendous planetary changes, they're unfolding as we speak. We see them everywhere, okay? They're like, we see it everywhere now in the news. It's a reality, and it's gonna continue. And there are things there are ways in which things that we're being forced to address right now that really require this sort of radical, bold action, I think, on behalf of humanity, where we take the leap, okay, and actually say, do you know what, we must do something to break this cycle for good. That we can't afford to waste more time on this, and there are ways that we can do that in a way that again, in a structured way, yes, and it has to be structured, obviously, to an extent as well, of course. We have to think carefully about how this would work, but at the same time be informed by consciousness insights, okay, and an awareness that how can I say it, of the influence of the phenomenon, the reality of God and how God feels about its creation, and all those things, okay, that matter tremendously, okay, and also our capacity, because I think that human beings have been told that they can't forgive. That you've been told that you're not forgiving. You've been told you're not capable of compassion. You've been told that you're not a nice person, perhaps, or that you should react, or that to be mean is to be strong, and like all these things. Maybe some of you have heard that sort of thing, and maybe you have that in your head as a samskara. As I've said, samskaras are very real, okay? Maybe you have that. We all have things in our head that tell us lies about who we are. People are capable of much more than they think, much more compassion, much more grace than they believe, okay? It's not a matter of who you are. You are not actually a mean, cynical person, okay? That's not actually who you are, okay? Not at all. You know, you're much more capable of giving people forgiveness and kindness and grace than you've been told to believe, okay? And so again, but whether people take that, that's fine. If they don't, they don't. That's absolutely fine, okay? If people don't want to go down that route, that's also one of the beautiful things about this, about like this whole thing, is that even if people don't understand and don't quite get it, that's absolutely fine. There is a reason for that. And again, and one of the beautiful things, like I said, about God, source, all that is that again, everything serves, everyone's life has meaning and purpose. Everything has, again, it can only happen as it can happen, and it all matters. It doesn't mean you're stupid if you don't get it. It doesn't mean that you're, it just means that it is what it is, and there are things to appreciate about everybody's predicament, and that's the paradox, okay? And of course, even if we introduced such an amnesty policy, it wouldn't mean everybody would probably come forward at once, of course, although obviously, encouraging people on a global scale, I think, would have to be the best. This is the best option to do, because this requires global participation. Otherwise, you're going to get people staying behind who are very afraid of like national security and all these other considerations. It's worth a shot, okay? I mean, even if it is just done on a national scale, just putting it out there that you're going to be forgiven. Putting it out there that you're forgiven, okay? Putting it out there to the public, that to these people, sorry, not the public, putting forward to people in, in the intelligence, military communities and so on, that you're not going to be judged, you're not going to be condemned, no matter what you've done. We want to hear your story. We understand that these things have happened, and so on and so forth. Again, putting it out there, again, the whole world might not move in the same direction, okay? But it's worth a shot, all right? And again, if people have to stay behind because of the fact that they have to consider national security and all these other factors and, very complex things that are going on behind the scenes, which are understandable, okay? But if they have to stay behind, then they shouldn't be judged, okay? We should be protecting them as well, okay? So again, people who don't come forward deserve protection too, because they often have, we don't know what the level of responsibility is. You don't know what they're considering, what the variables, what they think about their family, maybe, or just maybe there are things they feel obliged to do. Maybe there are threats that they have to take, take into consideration. All sorts of things that they have to bear in mind, I'm sure. And again, unless the world moves in unison in this direction, I guess that's going to be a major factor in who does come forward. But they also deserve understanding, empathy, and compassion as well, I think. Okay, in the sense that if they don't come forward, it doesn't mean that you're the boogeyman. It doesn't mean that you're not a nice person, or that you're not you're an evil person because you haven't chosen to share your insight. It just means that you have other things that you have to consider, other things on your mind, other variables and they also deserve compassion as well. I think until if the world moves, if we can encourage people to move in one direction with this, okay, we can encourage people make this a global thing where we can move, where we all collectively move towards peace, okay, move towards a world that has no conflict, that is trauma-free and so on and so forth, which I think, we can do, and possibly I feel are doing at the moment anyway. If we could do that, then we could really again, it could really be a game changer. I mean, transformative for humanity, okay? So again, whether people do these things or not, is up to them. And that's the beautiful thing. That's the paradox, is that nobody's judged regardless of what they choose to do. But again, we've got to look for ways to break this deadlock. And I think one of the big ways to do this is say, you're forgiven. You're not judged, no matter what you've done, no matter what it is. There is a way to understand you. There are concepts in consciousness, there are influences in consciousness that we can find to we can use. And also, again, this as well, our hearts, and God and all God's word and all those things, we can use those things to forgive people. We can say to them, no matter what you've done, no matter who you are, no matter what your background is, you are forgiven. You're not going to be judged. We just want to hear your story. We're going to protect you. Don't worry about it. We just want truth. That's all we want now, is truth and healing and peace for humanity. Okay, like that's really what I think. Again, but if we get structuring it, of course, in the sense that yes, people come forward. Yeah, absolutely deserve full protection. 100% deserve protection, and then all these other types of amnesty as well. Again, encouraging people to come forward. Maybe there should be something about timescales that are offered. I guess it just depends, what you think, what is appropriate. Again, I'm not saying that you could use. There's a way. Okay, what am I saying? I'm saying that there's a way that you can merge both things. You can merge the structural aspect with the consciousness and make it consciousness informed as well. You can do both. Okay, you can do both. You can do both. You can do both. I think you can make it structured and make it consciousness informed. What that would look like exactly, I don't know, but certainly offering for full protection. That's of course the most important thing, I think, is offering full protection to people who come forward, no matter what. Okay, that's what obviously the top priority. But then in terms of making people come forward and other terms, again, that's up to people and what they think is appropriate for their country and what they think is, and maybe it should be timed. Okay. But what I don't, but I would just say that maybe telling people that they, making people feel perhaps that they can't, those who don't come forward necessarily may, and I don't think Matt Brown's doing this at all. I know he's a smart guy. He knows what he knows that's not true. But I think, let's just sort of also consider perhaps that protection should just, we should be keeping, should be seeking to protect even those who stay behind, who choose not to come forward, that it's not necessarily their it's not their fault. Okay, it's not their fault. It's not they have other considerations. Okay, so yeah, so I just thought I'd put this forward again. I just feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of this and people being manipulated and or just people trying to keep you under the thumb, and like Matt Brown said, there is a control system that's in place, and he's so right about that. Like there is, and we should be working to dismantle that control system. We should be working to dismantle it 100%. But yeah, I think I think in terms of going according to crime, in terms of what type of amnesty people are offered, I would just say I think there's I think it's a tricky one, because I think like I said, there are people out there who may have done things or been coerced, because let's remember, psychotronic weapons are also a reality. Look at the Epstein emails, and I would just encourage people who are looking at amnesty to think about that, all right, because it's true. Psychotronic weapons are real, okay, and they're used to coerce people. It's not just that, but there are other forms of brainwashing. ESP is a reality. ESP is used. I would just, again, these things, I would encourage people to think about that, okay? Consciousness. This is why we need consciousness insight to be devolved mainstream, because people won't appreciate that. They'll still think in terms of the tangible aspects of reality when they assess whether or not somebody is guilty or deserves punishment or is not, or whatever. They're going to look at it through the sense that we are sealed off physical human units that are just monkeys on a planet, on a rock, third rock from the sun, nothing more, nothing less. There's nothing else to see here, when it's not actually true. Okay. It's not true. There's much more, and people in the armed forces and intelligence communities know that. Like they use these things, okay? They're trained on them, a lot of these people, and so like I said, like if we don't have, we have to sort of think about how that might be used to affect people, to brainwash people, and also other things in consciousness as well, like the phenomenon. So I think it's just this is something I'm really passionate about, really passionate about, I really believe in this, like, because I know that the power to transform society and the relief suffering for humanity is profound. If we could integrate, make this awareness mainstream, for and integrate and maybe reform our criminal justice systems, and ideas of human psychology, all kinds of things that could be reformed with this, health systems, education, making consciousness insights part of a curriculum, insights, sorry, making consciousness studies part of a curriculum in schools. This is what I think like would be amazing for, would be really helpful to future generations, and also people here, if we can make it in time, which I hope we do, God willing. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, again, these are just some thoughts, okay? It's a really prickly issue, and no matter what people do, it's fine. And that is fine. And that's okay. It's fine. No matter what people do, it's a-okay. It's absolutely fine. It's not about me and what I want at the end of the day. It's about other people and their stories and considerations, practical aspects, trying to balance other people, what I mean. You just, again, it's not for me to judge. It's not for me. I'm not trying to shame or judge anyone when I speak about these things at all, okay? At all. I'm not judging at all, okay? I think everybody's beautiful, everybody's life is beautiful, and and I think, again, but we got to give it a shot, okay? We got to try and give it our best shot with disclosure. Again, let's be radical about it. Let's be radical. Let's make some bold moves in that direction, and we can do it because there is the insight on the planet. There are things we can take into consideration that could really, do you know what I mean? Like really, open that door for humanity. Like I really believe that. Like I think it's really, I know it. Like I know that there are ways that we can look at this that could take us out of this deadlock once and for all, and just really open things up for everybody and break that trauma cycle, to a very significant degree, if not completely. So thank you for watching this video if you have watched it. And again, I'll be talking about this more all the time, non-stop, because it's a huge aspect. One of the planetary changes, there are planetary changes afoot, and this is the final thing I just want to say. Planetary changes afoot, okay? And people deserve to know about them. And people aren't being told the truth. They're not being told the truth. Now, whether or not at some point that'll just happen anyway, because maybe the science will be so obvious that that people won't be able to turn a blind eye anymore, and it'll just be, but there are suppressed causes for these changes, okay? And, we can think about, well, why don't we know about this? Well, they're suppressed because they don't want people to panic. There's all sorts of ideologies, there's all, religious aspects, the considerations, lots of reasons why. But one of the things that would encourage people to come forward and speak about these issues more is breaking this control system, dismantling the global power structure, and surfacing this cabal. Again, not because they're evil, not because they're nasty, not because they're horrible people, not because they're criminals who deserve jail for the rest of their lives. It's because they are actually the opposite. Okay, and they deserve freedom, they deserve to be treated, they deserve their human rights, they deserve grace, they deserve compassion, they deserve understanding, as do we all. And freeing them frees us as well at this critical time on our planet, okay? So by liberating them, we liberate each other, we liberate ourselves, we liberate insight, truth. We give each other a chance to survive. There's all kinds of things. Again, I'm painting in very broad strokes right now. Okay, and I know that it's more complex than I can possibly give it credit for, but again, this is an idea that I really believe in, and I think that it could really, really, really help. I mean, again, this is something, this concept, this idea, would really, really help humanity. Again, like, transcend this, break this dynamic once and for all, and help ensure the survival of more people at this, the survival and well-being of, hopefully all, if not the majority of the planet. Okay, in that sense, we need to be working together, basically. So yeah, and okay, all right. So I hope that makes sense, and all the best. Take care.